Members of Vancouver's LGBTQ+ community gathered in prayer at Jim Deva Plaza to hold a vigil for the 5 gay male victims in Toronto. Alleged serial killer Bruce McArthur was charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder. Vancouver hasn't been immune from hate crimes against LGBTQ+ people. One man was murdered and another was severely beaten within the last year. However, members of the community say they won't let the fear dictate their lives.
I am not going to take fear on, and I don't want the people that I love to take the fear on. I feel for the families, I feel for the friends, and I feel for my community, but no, I'm not fearful.
The vigil's organizer Len Tooley moved from Toronto to Vancouver a few months before charges were laid and thought the city needed a time to mourn and grieve in a tragedy that hits close to home.
There are some people in our community who are more marginalized, and when they go missing, and they're more likely to go missing, those cases can remain unsolved for a long time, which they did in Toronto. So it was partly an emotional opportunity to grief, but also a time for us to remember as a community that we need to stand in solidarity with those who are more marginalized and value their lives.
Some members of the community believe events such as the vigil is a way for them to take back control when faced with a tragedy. Aaron Schulze, in Vancouver, for BCIT magazine. The holidays are like a carousel. People find themselves spinning in circles, and there are multiple ups and downs. But the carousel is just one way the Burnaby Village Museum hopes to slow down the modern holidays with what it calls Heritage Christmas.
People are looking for, I think, a little bit of an escape from a lot of the hustle and bustle and stress that holidays can bring. And coming here where they see what represents a simpler time when focus was on family, not on merchandise.
The museum's Heritage Christmas has been going on for more than 40 years and usually sees upwards to 56,000 visitors during the holiday season.
I think just the heritage, right? To see what things were like 100 years ago.
The carousel's really fun for the kids, and yeah, it's just a nice place to walk through at night.
While the bright lights and other physical attractions are key, the museum says it wants a connection between older and younger generations to be the reason they come back.
Being able to exchange stories, especially when we get seniors or people that grew up in small communities that lived in a similar environment, being able to exchange those stories brings a lot of comfort.
People seem to love the old-fashioned times and to relax and look of them fondly. However, that doesn't mean that there can't be something a little exhilarating in the meantime. Aaron Schulze, in Burnaby, for BCIT magazine. Just like Game of Thrones, winter is coming, and BCIT has gained their army ready to take it head-on. Last year, BCIT's Burnaby campus was a winter catastrophe.
Turns to slush and not wearing the proper shoes. I've seen people in high heels even, and they're like slipping and sliding. And
I had to walk slowly just to make sure I didn't slip and fall on the ice.
It was super easy because I only lived like 5 minutes away. But the one day that it snowed a ton, I had to get a ride from a classmate because none of the buses were running.
The U.S. National Weather Service predicts a 60% chance of another La Nina winter this year. Adam Dickinson of BCIT's Facility Services says the speed and the duration of the snow was the most challenging part last year.
We've learned from last year, which is why we've increased our fleet this year.
BCIT brought in multiple new snow plows, a brine maker, and more new toys to deal with the ice and snow.
We've brought in some new ATVs as well, I should mention, for our grounds crew, which is great. We purchased a skid steer, which is also great. So internally, raising up our equipment level will definitely help us from some of the challenges we had last year. But other than that, I think it was a pretty good year last year.
Dickinson says BCIT is prepared for a heavier snowstorm than last year and is confident that they can control the ice and snow more efficiently. Aaron Schulze, in Burnaby, for BCIT magazine. cannabis is getting closer to getting the green light. The BC government is preparing for non-medicinal cannabis's legalization in July, with a series of bills to implement the regulations. Some of the rules for retailers include separate sales from BC liquor stores. Businesses can register for retail licenses in the spring. Stores may only sell cannabis products. Current dispensaries can apply for a license, and those with criminal records can apply, but licenses will only be granted on a case-by-case basis. The latter could put out the flame for businesses such as Mark and Jody Emery's Cannabis Culture.
Cannabis Culture has a history of being arrested and raided and closing, opening, and just surviving and being able to keep coming back. And even though it's illegal now and it's been illegal in the past, everything in the community has flourished. So the laws don't eliminate us. The laws just give us more reason to continue being activists.
Mark and Jody Emery have both been arrested in marijuana-related cases outside of Cannabis Culture, which could influence whether the BC government gives them a retail license. However, Jody says she's happy the government won't eliminate her and Mark from license contention right off the bat.
Cannabis Culture is going to be 25 years old next year, and we've been on the front lines of legalization activism, so I am determined to find a place in the legal landscape for Cannabis Culture to operate.
Even if Cannabis Culture doesn't get a retail license in Vancouver, Jody says there's still a reason to keep opening stores as a campaign for more freedom and rights. And the landscape will continue to change, as the BC government says all governments will have to assess and refine cannabis policy in the months and years to come. Aaron Schulze in Vancouver for BCIT Magazine.